In a small village nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling sea stood an ancient mosque, a silent sentinel of faith that had witnessed centuries come and go. Its towering minaret seemed to touch the very sky, while its echoing call to prayer once resonated across the vast fields, inviting all to worship. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the land, the atmosphere around the mosque shifted, transforming from a sanctuary of peace into a theater of fear. For when the moon climbed high in the star-studded sky, the villagers whispered tales of eerie happenings within the mosque's hallowed halls. None dared to venture inside after the evening prayer, for it was said that once the last echoes of the Adhan faded away, the mosque became a haunted labyrinth, its silence shattered only by the moans of the restless dead. To make matters worse, the imam, the spiritual leader of the mosque, always made sure to lock the doors securely before the stroke of midnight. This only fueled the villagers' fears, giving rise to chilling rumors that the imam was hiding something sinister within those four walls. What secrets did he fear might be unearthed under the cloak of darkness? What horrors did he desperately try to keep at bay? Or were the villagers merely succumbing to superstition and folklore? Amidst this web of fear and mystery, there lived a young man named Karim. Karim was a bright and inquisitive student of theology, his mind always seeking answers and his heart filled with an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. He had always been skeptical of the elders' stories about the haunted mosque. To him, such tales were nothing more than superstitious folklore meant to scare impressionable children. He couldn't fathom that a place of worship could harbor malevolent spirits or that the living could ever interact with the dead. But tonight was different. Karim had decided to stay in the mosque until dawn, determined to prove once and for all that there was nothing supernatural lurking in its shadows. Armed with his unwavering determination and a flickering lantern, Karim stepped into the mosque and closed the door behind him. The air inside was heavy with the scent of incense and age, and the soft glow of his lantern danced on the intricate patterns adorning the walls. As he settled down to pray, a sense of tranquility washed over him. The rhythmic cadence of his prayers echoed in the vast emptiness, and he found solace in the familiar words and movements. After his prayers, Karim opened the Quran, its ancient pages whispering stories of prophets and miracles. He read verses that spoke of hope and perseverance, allowing the words to soothe his troubled thoughts. Yet, as the minutes ticked by, a subtle shift occurred within him. The peaceful silence was starting to feel oppressive, and the shadows cast by his lantern seemed to writhe and twist, taking on sinister shapes. Suddenly, the steady beam of his lantern flickered and dimmed, plunging the mosque into near darkness. In that instant, a wave of primal fear washed over him, and his heart pounded against his ribs like a trapped bird. But just as quickly as the darkness had descended, his lantern flared back to life, dispelling the shadows and revealing the mosque's familiar features. Karim took a deep breath, trying to shake off the inexplicable fear that had gripped him. He told himself it was just a trick of the light, nothing more. Yet a nagging unease lingered at the back of his mind. As the clock tower chimed the hour, signaling the approach of midnight, the temperature in the mosque seemed to drop several degrees, sending a shiver down Karim's spine. Despite his earlier confidence, doubts began to creep into his thoughts. Was he truly alone in that ancient building? The silence was now deafening, amplifying every creak and groan of the aging structure, each sound sending fresh shivers down his spine. And then it happened. At precisely 12:30 a.m., as the hands of the clock neared the fateful hour, Karim heard it, a low, distorted rumble that seemed to emanate from the very core of the earth. It was the call to prayer, the Adhan, but it was wrong. Whoever was calling did not belong to this world. There was no mistaking the reverence in their voice as they proclaimed the oneness of Allah, yet something was terribly wrong. Their tone was strained and desperate, as though they were trapped and reaching out from the depths of despair. Karim's heart raced as he searched for the source of the voice, but the mosque was eerily silent, its vast space offering no clues. The microphone used for the recorded adhan stood silent and still, offering no explanation for the ghostly call. And the minaret, usually manned by the muezzin, the one who gives the call to prayer, was empty. Had someone climbed up there to play a cruel prank? The thought crossed Karim's mind, but he dismissed it. No one would be foolish enough to risk such a dangerous game. But then he noticed something that sent a fresh wave of fear coursing through him. The ethereal voice was not coming from the mihrab, the niche that indicated the direction of Mecca. It was coming from the opposite direction, as if whoever or whatever was calling to prayer was standing directly against the Kaaba, the holiest site in Islam, turned away from everything it represented. With trembling steps, Karim moved closer to the source of the voice, his heart pounding in his chest. As he neared the spot, the voice seemed to grow louder, its mournful tone filling him with dread. And in the silence that followed the adhan, Karim heard it again, a chorus of whispers, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to slither around him, chilling him to the bone. Terror tightened its grip on him, urging him to flee. But as he turned to leave, his eyes fell upon the prayer mats scattered around the mosque, and what he saw next sent a fresh surge of terror coursing through his veins. The mats, which had been randomly placed, were beginning to move, shifting and sliding across the floor as if guided by an unseen hand. They glided towards the mihrab, forming a path that was both mesmerizing and terrifying. At the end of the aisle, formed by the moving prayer mats, the darkness in the mihrab seemed to deepen, and a pair of glowing red eyes emerged, staring directly at him. Karim recoiled in horror, his mind screaming at him to run, to escape the dreadful sight that awaited him. But his feet were rooted to the spot, and he could only watch in petrified fascination as the figure stepped out of the darkness. It was tall and gaunt, draped in tattered robes that seemed to absorb the little light that filtered through the mosque's windows. Its face was obscured, hidden in the shadows cast by its hood. Yet despite its obscured features, Karim could sense the sorrow and longing emanating from it. It took a step forward, and in that instant, Karim saw it clearly. It wasn't a monster or a demon, but a human, or what remained of one. His bones were exposed in many places, skin hanging loosely over them like dirty rags. His eyes were hollow sockets, reflecting the little light that penetrated the gloom. His hands were gnarled and twisted, as if he had spent his final years in torment. The emaciated figure raised its head, and although its voice was a mere whisper, it echoed with an otherworldly resonance that seemed to shake Karim's very soul. "We prayed here before you," it rasped, its voice like the grinding of stones, "and we never left." With that final chilling utterance, the figure dissolved back into the shadows, leaving Karim trembling in the encroaching darkness. In the aftermath of that haunting encounter, the mosque fell silent once more, the only sound being the echo of the creature's final words, "We prayed here before you, and we never left." Dawn eventually arrived, painting the eastern sky with hues of rose and gold as it chased away the darkness. When the imam arrived to find the doors unlocked, the Quran open and Karim missing, he discovered the truth of Karim's fate. From that day forward, the villagers avoided the mosque, leaving it abandoned and silent. The old mosque, once a beacon of faith and community, became a symbol of fear and tragedy, forever tainted by the whispers of the restless dead. Some say the spirits of those buried beneath the mosque, unable to find peace, lured visitors into their eternal slumber. Others believed the mosque stood on a nexus of immense spiritual energy, attracting malevolent entities from other dimensions. And so the legend of the mosque grew, passed down through generations as a cautionary tale, a reminder that some mysteries are best left unsolved and some places are best left undisturbed. The memory of Karim, the young skeptic, faded into obscurity, becoming another story whispered around campfires on cold winter nights. The old mosque still stands, a lonely sentinel amidst the rolling hills, its minaret touching the sky. But no one dares enter its crumbling walls. For those who heard the call to prayer at night know that the Adhan is a siren's call, luring the innocent into a slumber from which there is no waking.